Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He is my fellow board member at the LVGA 50, but more importantly, he's the new mayor. Well, not so new, but the mayor of Boulder City. Welcome to Doc Joe Hardy.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Good to be here.
So glad to see you. So, Mayor, please, to get us started, tell us about your background. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school, college, and maybe even your first job?
So I was born and raised in Reno, Nevada, native Nevadan. My mother went to Sparks High School, and I went to Sparks High School.
Nice.
So she had some of the same teachers I did.
Wow.
So it was kind of fun. And I, having been raised as a son of a construction person, I actually worked for my dad the first time, making $1.25 an hour, working construction when I was 13 years old.
$1.25 an hour.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I was asked for my union card, which I did not have at age 13. I think they had an age limit or something.
They didn't like the young
so,
kids.
So, yeah, I was short of stature, but I worked, and people told the fellow construction workers around the job, they told my dad that he's small, but he works. And so, I learned how to work, and it was kind of fun because I got paid.
Yes.
In fact, when my dad left the job to go do something, he was the owner of the company. And when he left to go do something else, I think he went, this was in Utah at BYU Wilkinson Center, the student union is where I was working. And he left, and there was a college student working for him too. And so my mother said, well, Joe's now the foreman.
Wow.
So I was a foreman
promotion
at age 13, but didn't come with a pay raise. So, yeah, that's what I did. Now, have a work history. We moved back to Reno. We just lived in Utah about 4 years, moved back to Reno. And after my 9th grade year, I worked for free for a summer doing what we call cancer research, which is code for I cleaned the mice cages, and I cleaned the beakers and the test tubes, and I got up on the roof and put the mice up there so that they would get skin cancers so they could be sacrificed and they could study cancer things that happen.
Wow. Which institution was this?
University of Reno.
At UNR. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I worked on campus. My mother taught college there at UNR as well.
Wow.
And so when I went as a freshman student at UNR, I had an office.
Wow.
At least that's how I looked at it. Her office was my office.
Yeah.
So I had a place for my books and whatever. And so that my work history after that, I figured working free for a summer probably wasn't the most lucrative way to do it. But when it came to applying for medical school, I talked to the person I was working for that summer, and I said, I need a letter of recommendation. Yeah. Would you write me a letter of recommendation? He said, well, I don't think you need one. And I thought, well, I got to have one. I mean, that's the rule. I mean, you have to have 3 letters. And he finished that sentence, and then he said, because I'm the dean of admissions.
Oh, wow. Oh, it was a medical school there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got accepted.
So that free summer paid off.
Yeah, it was a good investment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is cool. And when you were a freshman or throughout the years there at UNR, both your undergrad and, of course, your postgrad, were you living ever on campus, or did you always stay at home since mom and dad lived in Reno?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I lived at home, and when I came back from my mission, I served a 2-year mission in France.
Oh, wow.
I came back and living at home again, and my mom was going to move away from me and my dad with her, and she was going to work, or she was going to get work on her PhD at BYU. And I'm in Reno, and I'm thinking, this living alone is not worth it. So I quickly got a scholarship to BYU, went with them so I could live with them. And lo and behold, I was at BYU, and I was there long enough to find my wife. And then I've always enjoyed living with somebody.
Yeah. You're good at mathematics. That's cheaper.
That's what it is. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
And so, that's what and so Jill and I have been married for 51 years, and it's wonderful to live with somebody.
Yeah, that's amazing, Doc. And so you graduate from medical school at BYU, or did you come back to UNR to graduate?
Well, my wife says I never did.
Oh.
So what happened is, you're asking the question, so I have to answer them, right? So I took a year of college and a summer school kind of right off the bat out of high school, and I went on my mission to France, came back, and I took a half a semester at BYU and took a 13-credit course in French where I could challenge out. So I picked up basically about 20-some-odd credits in that period of half a semester. And then when I went back to UNR for a semester and a summer school, and then I moved to Utah to go back to BYU. So when I was done with my first full year at BYU, I was accepted to medical school. So I never did graduate from BYU or UNR until I took a year. The first year of medical school at UNR counted for my undergraduate work. So I did graduate from UNR, and that was in general sciences, as it were. And then after 2 years at UNR, which it was a 2-year school, I had to apply for a 4-year school for the last 3 and 4 years of medical school. And I went to Washington University in St. Louis, and wonderful school, wonderful education.
Jill went with you?
Yeah, she went with me, as well as our 1, 2, 3, eventually kids.
Wow,
and so we
started early. Okay.
So we, our son was very accommodating. We were married January 28th, and he was born November 4th. If you do the math, it's pretty close.
Right in there.
And he was actually born on the day our maternity insurance took effect.
Very accommodating.
It was great. So we had 2 kids. We ended up at Washington University, coming back to Reno to do a rotation with family medicine, and had a third child born, a daughter, and I delivered her.
Wow.
And so that's why they have umbilical cords. So, if you slip, they
don't fall.
It goes boing.
Yeah.
So, I delivered her.
That's so cool.
I just come off of a rotation at Travis Air Force Base, which is how I got through medical school. And I think I delivered over 100 babies in that rotation all by myself. And so it wasn't, a horrible thing. In fact, the doctor said while Jill was in labor, he had to go to the other hospital in Reno. He said, well, if she delivers, he can deliver her. And I delivered her, but they wouldn't let me put my name on the birth certificate.
That's so cool, Doc. And so again, those of us who know you and know of your distinguished private sector career, a family physician, for all those years as you're describing. But I also know that you spent 8 years in the Nevada Assembly, 12 years in the Nevada Senate, and now the elected mayor of Boulder City. What inspired you to public office? What, again, having a thriving, private sector career, what was it that said, you know what, I want to go do this other thing as well?
It actually started before that. In high school or in junior high, I ran for student body president and lost by one vote. That's another story. And so when I continued my academic career, I was always interested in the service clubs and the things that you do on campus. And so when I came to Boulder City, I was involved, I wouldn't say politically, but as community civic service kinds of things. And how it happened with City Council, because that was in 1999, a friend suggested that I should run for City Council. And I came home and told Jill what Ned had said. And then I got a phone call from a former City Councilwoman who said, I've got money I have to get rid of, campaign money I have to get rid of, and I hear you're running for City Council. I said, Iris, I've had 2 conversations about that. Wow. One is Ned said I should, and I came home and told Jill what Ned said. Wow. And so I accepted her money, and I ran, and I was elected in City Council in Boulder City. And that's where the tongue depressors came in.
Okay.
Now, you say woo, but usually if I do this, you say ah. Ah. So that's what I did. I wrote on water is wonderful, education enriches us, golf is good, and so I had one for each of my planks, and this is a plank.
Wow.
And it made a platform. And one of the things I wrote on my planks is traffic is terrible. And so these were the things that I wanted to address as a city council person. And that came forward also when we went into the assembly. So I always had a kind of a vision what I wanted to accomplish and what, how I wanted to do it. So the traffic thing, traffic is terrible. I couldn't get it done as a city council person, but as a state assembly person, I had something to say about it because, that's a state issue. Yep. And that's how I-11 was born. Wow.
Took years.
It took years.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of creative thinking and a lot of creative thinking across the aisle and how it did. And the
Wait, you guys used to work across the aisle?
Oh, yeah, I know. And sometimes that ruffled feathers,
sure.
Obviously. So feathers on both sides.
Sure.
So, yeah, I was somewhat unique. But now I-11, so what happened before I-11, the traffic is terrible thing that I would
on
say.
On the plank, yeah.
I couldn't turn left into my barbershop.
Wow.
Because of the traffic. I mean, there was no break. It was just no break.
All the trucks.
And then if you did get in, you couldn't turn right to get out. And traffic was just really backed up, and sometimes it would take literally an hour to go through Boulder City, and that was the only way you could go, unless you went down through Laughlin almost to Kingman.
Yeah, you had to cross the dam.
Yeah, and that was the bottleneck was before the dam and before Boulder City, and it was just steady traffic.
Was it called a dam bottleneck?
Whoa. So
I like how you guys always play on the dam.
Yeah. We are actually the best town by a dam site.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we had a report just 3 days ago by the police chief and to city council what we're doing. And one of the interesting things he said, he was talking about crime statistics. And he said, one of the interesting things that happened since I-11 was built, we haven't had near the number of people with transient crimes. And I thought, well, that makes sense. So that's a thing that I hadn't anticipated that would improve.
Yeah.
But it did.
Wow.
And so you can go around Boulder City, which is fine unless you want to stop at your Fox Barbecue or your chicken place or your Italian or your
A&W.
You know, and a lot of people literally come to Boulder City to go to the A&W.
Yes.
It still exists.
Yeah. I used to like going to the guy that sold the llamas, Pete, Paca Pete.
Yeah.
I miss that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know where he went.
He went down to the, what is it, off of Las Vegas Boulevard?
He's here now in Las Vegas.
So he's there in the little shopping mall thing.
I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, so he still does things if you wanted to, and that's where I used to get Christmas presents.
Yes.
And it was
the
close.
soft baby alpaca thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, Doc, you were talking about the report from your police chief, but recently Irene and I, who serve with you in the assembly, were able to go representing Workforce Connections. We went to every council and commission to give our annual update, and we were up there with you. It was great to see you and Councilman Fox, who, as you know, is your representative to govern here on behalf of Boulder City, this agency. And we got to meet the new faces of the council. Mm-hmm. But we always enjoy going to Boulder City because it's amazing the level of civic engagement. This was the first time that the meeting, it takes us 2-3 hours to get on the docket because there's always either a controversial subject that brings in the public comment. As you remember, that night I was like, this is the first time I actually, got out of there, I think, within an hour. So, but do you enjoy seeing us as much as we come enjoying visiting Boulder City?
Well, anytime you use the word work, I'm thrilled. I mean, after the Great Recession, for instance, 2011 session in the legislature, every bill that I had practically that I had a BDR for involved work. So what can we do to get work? And so when you start looking at the things that build people, things that help people, the things that build the family, things that education is helping, it's work. And the dignity that comes when you're working is far more than when you're just sitting, unless you're sitting doing a computer and getting paid for it or whatever. Mm-hmm. So work is really is one of the refining things that we have in our character. So when I was working for $1.25 an hour and became the foreman, it's the responsibility you get, and that's hard to get that sitting in a schoolroom, which is work in and of itself. In fact, we told our kids, your job is to get good grades, and then your good grades get you a scholarship, and so on. Yep. So work is a principle. It's an action verb. And so you look at all of that. So we're appreciative of when somebody comes and wants to talk about work. We appreciate it.
I'm glad to hear that, Doc. As the mayor, cities of course come in different sizes and scales and priorities. But what are your primary responsibilities as the mayor? And how do you prioritize them? Because as somebody who's never been a mayor, you think public safety and you think law enforcement and all these very important topics. But how do you prioritize your responsibilities as a mayor?
The good thing about being a mayor is it's not about me, as my wife reminds me periodically. So I represent, but on the city council, I am one of 5. And nobody can do something as one. All of the things that we do in Boulder City on the city council is a vote of 5 people. And we will disagree sometimes, but we still like each other. It's a great council. We enjoy each other, and we usually agree on common sense kinds of things. And some common sense of things we don't agree with because, I may not have as much common sense as someone else. But I love it when we have the opportunity to have that open discussion according to the open meeting law, and we get to see what our people around us are talking about. But all of it stems from listening to the people. So what do the people do? You can do a survey, you can do town hall meetings. Bottom line is, what do the people think who are your next door neighbors? And what are their thoughts? And so it's a matter of, you really don't have, you're not in a sheltered cocoon in like Carson City sometimes. But you're shopping with these people at the grocery store. And it's great because people will let you know what's going on. Now my wife, she does Facebooks and then tells me what happened with Facebook. But you can find out what people think anywhere in town. And I put on a hat the other day, and I told Jill I was going to go incognito to, the art in the park or somewhere.
Okay.
And she says, you can't go incognito. And so I went up, and I thought I was incognito for about 2 seconds.
I don't think you can pull it off.
Somebody said, "Hi, Mayor," and
Yep.
I said, "Oh, so much so the next time I put sunglasses on."
Okay.
That didn't work either.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be hard for you to go incognito. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I think too many people know you.
So getting out, knowing the people, talking to the people, that's quite frankly the priority.
I like it.
And then you have that, after you do that, you have a representative. You have to represent the people, and you have to represent the people who have conflicting ideas. And then you have to go to council, and you have to say, well, this is what I feel after having weighed the options and tried to figure out how you're going to vote. So as a mayor that conducts the meeting, for instance, that's one of my jobs, I conduct the meeting, is I like to ask the others what they think before I poison the well with my own opinions. And so I like to hear what they have to say and what they think. And it's great because we all come from different backgrounds, and we all have different insights to what's happening and what could be done. And then the other thing I do as a mayor is I'm ceremonial. So people invite me to do something because I'm the mayor. And I was with a group of mayors the other day, and somebody said mayor, and everybody's
All
head
four
turned.
of you turned around.
Yeah, so it was like Target or Walmart, where you hear the word mom, and all the moms turn.
Yeah.
And so I'm not unique. There are other mayors around, and so I still like to be called Joe. I have a lot of titles, and the titles are shared with a lot of different people, so I still like my identity.
Yeah, and one thing I know is unique about you, and you're right, those who watch you in meetings, you're a great listener. When we meet with you, you listen more than you speak, which is, again, says a lot about you. You're always wanting to hear opinions, and the fact that you let that be how you prioritize, how you represent your constituents says a lot about you, Doc. So I want to ask you about, I know also in Boulder City, every city, the economy plays, a crucial role in the well-being of a community. And I know that Boulder City has certain things that are unique to them, a focus, solar energy, and these things. But what can you tell us Boulder City is focusing on to make sure that it's supporting its local businesses, creating jobs, and stimulating economic growth in the city?
I think it's not unique to us. All of us are trying to make sure that we're inviting from a business standpoint, from, let's have people come and permit. So you always hear of people saying, I had a hard time permitting.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that we want to make sure we facilitate. So we facilitate that. And we had somebody who said the city's giving me a bad time, and then I just say, okay, what are we doing? I mean, because they can talk to me or one of the other council people, and so we have an attitude of what can we do to slicken the chute? Yeah. What can we do to make this easier? Yeah. And that goes back to the state as well. So when we tried to get more nurses, for instance, in the state, we have to say, are we presenting barriers for people, or are we opening up the doors? And that's the attitude that I think our city manager's done a wonderful job. Our community development person has done a wonderful job. So you hear people now say, I did this, and they worked with me. Yeah. My little snow cone place, they had a wire from one of the stores, and our people said, you can't do that, but you can do this. Right. And so they did that, and you can still buy a snow cone in Boulder City. Yeah. And that's kind of how how can we make it work, that work thing again.
I've experienced that you have a small staff, but I think that helps them also be nimble and close to the ground and close to the needs of the people. And so I've seen it work, how whether it be you or another council member who gets the hears of the problem first, your staff is quick to react. And even I think when it comes to helping businesses, it goes beyond what I've seen, the immediate staff. It extends to Jill at the Chamber of Commerce, too. Yeah. So you guys are a tight-knit community.
Okay, so we had a town hall meeting the other day. You don't have to come to all of them. So, we had a town hall meeting and planning out, our capital projects for the next 10 years or something. That's what we always try to keep a long view and a short view. And so we asked, what is it? And it was great how they did it. We had our phones and they asked a question and then we
live survey.
Typed in. Wow. Yeah, it was fun. And
you saw the results on the screen?
Yeah.
Wow.
In real time.
Yeah.
And it was fun how they did it. And so I thought, I can tell you what I think is important. And so I typed in, keep Jill Lagan happy. But it didn't go up on the screen, so I talked to the guy afterwards, and they have a censor, that they don't let names, and so I didn't get my comment that I thought was important. Wow. But now I can say keep Jill Lagan happy.
Yeah, we like Jill too, Doc. If you were to look ahead at your term as mayor, at least your first term, what would be the goals that you want to make sure get accomplished in that first term as mayor?
I love our teachers and our schools, and we are having a demographic that's getting less young, and they have fewer school students. And so I want to make sure that our borders are open, and lo and behold, we are doing well without me doing anything, quite frankly, except saying I love to have students from someplace elsewhere come to Boulder City. And we had the report the other day from the school district that showed that we have students coming from other
cities,
zones, and cities. And I said, well, how many? And she couldn't tell me. So she sent it the next day. And we have over 300 kids coming to Boulder City that don't live there. And I was just talking to Mayor Goodman, in fact, yesterday, and we had a meeting, and she's a little more important than I am. Yeah. So she actually has marshals.
Yes.
and so the marshal who was escorting me from my parking place into the restaurant where we were meeting shared with me that he has 3 kids coming to Boulder City schools. And we have about 300 kids from someplace elsewhere. And she broke it down, the Clark County School District gal broke it down. And in the high school, we have about 157 students coming from out of town to our high school, which is wonderful because now I've got more students for our wonderful teachers. We get 4-star, 5-star schools consistently, and we get kids who help our teams. So I get my athletics improved, I get my scholastic improvement, and I get my feeling improvement that we now have a more accepting feeling about everybody. People used to say Boulder City is standoffish. Well, you can't be standoffish if a lot of people come to your school from out of town. We love those people, and they come to the games, they eat at our restaurants.
Yeah.
And in fact, at that survey, I said one of the people that we like to have are the people that come twice a day to Boulder City, come to leave their student and come to pick them up. I mean, it's a huge group of people that come and use our restaurants and shop at our stores, etc.
And it has become easier, as you said, with I-11, because when you go down the boulevard now with the restaurants, it's easier. It's just easier to get there now.
Yeah.
And more enjoyable. And like you said, it's, when you go on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, there's so much energy there downtown. It's a really great place to visit. Thank you for sharing that story about the kids. It's very nice to hear, like you said, the words, we welcome others outside to come and be a part of that success. Let's switch to the personal part, Doc, because we've heard about, again, your private sector career as a physician and you're also elected official thing. But we want to know more personal. What does a perfect day of relaxation look like for Doc? Would Jill give me a different story? But you tell us first, what are your interests, hobbies that you enjoy in your spare time?
You may not believe this. I'm a doctor, and one of the things I like best to do is read my medical journals. I love it. Now, I'm officially retired as of the 3rd of February this year, and I'm still board certified. I still have things to do, and Jill's happy that I'm busy being the mayor. But I'm officially retired, and one of the things I really like to do is read medical journals. Now, second to that, I like to read Louis L'Amour books.
Wow.
And so the Louis L'Amour book is a classic. I was on a road trip in a bus 45 years ago, and I realized, oh my, I'm on a 16-hour bus trip and I forgot a book. I mean, I read, and I'm thinking 16 hours on a bus, and I didn't have a book. Wow. And one of the gals on the bus she was reading, and I said, well, what do you have? I don't have a book. And she said, well, I have a Louis L'Amour book if you want to read it. I said, is that a Western? And she said, yeah. I said, I don't read Westerns. She said, well, I said, but I'll try.
Yeah.
And it was a book of short stories by Louis L'Amour. And the first one I read, I went, wow, this is good. And then the next one, I said, wow, this is good. So I became a Louis L'Amour fan, and I've read all of them. Wow. And the good thing about me is you get older, you forget what you read, so it works out well. So at any rate, this is a good book. There's a good guy, a virtuous woman, a bad guy, and the good guy wins. I mean, it's a classic plot. Yeah. And in Louis L'Amour, that's what you're going to get every single time. And so if you look at some of the other authors, you get some of that. But I read, various and sundry authors, but I like to read. I used to say I play basketball. And my wife has taken my journals from 1980 through 86, 87, and she's typed them up. And periodically she reads a paragraph out of them, and she says, you say you played basketball. You were always playing basketball. and that's what I did. I mean, that was my outlet. That's what I played basketball.
Wow.
And so I tell people that politics is like basketball, except meaner.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love politics. I love service. I love reading. I've got 21 grandkids now, so I have an opportunity, and some of them live right across the street from me.
Yeah.
I've got a 2-year-old granddaughter lives across the street from me, so I have plenty to do, and it's fun, and I enjoy it, and I like people.
That's good. Doc, when you said meaner, it brought a memory of mine where this was a long time ago, but I had a friend, this is Peru, again, and he was on a mission. We're still friends now, but he was on a mission in Peru, and the elders used to play basketball on Mondays. That was their day off. And so they'd go to the ward, the court back there. And so they invited me one time, or maybe they needed a body. And of course they opened in prayer, but then once the whistle blew, I haven't seen a meaner game of basketball. Dirty elbows. I mean, so I think I hear where you're coming from. It was mean. But Doc, a question for you. The reading, of course, reading means picking up words with your eyes that stimulate your mind, and like you said, you enjoy it. Today, a lot of people do audiobooks. Is that still reading to you, to be able to hear it through here instead of picking it up and reading it?
Short answer, no.
Okay.
Long answer, when we drive,
Yeah.
like today I'm going to go up to Utah, we have an audiobook.
Yeah.
And so we have authors that we like that Jill, you can check them out of the library for free.
Right.
Hulu and all these things. So you can literally check out audiobooks from the library for free. And so we do audiobooks, and we love it. Yeah. So our trip becomes kind of a joint sharing thing instead of just, we're driving.
Yep.
So we get to chuckle, we get to say, oh, and, all of those things that you get with books. So audiobooks for me take me too long. If I'm sitting there, I can read faster, and I like to get to the end. I like to say, okay, so what happened?
Yeah.
So I like to read by myself, and I like audiobooks when I drive. And as far as TV is concerned, yes, we did watch a good baseball game last night, and a good football game, that were going on at the same time.
Yep.
So I love to watch sports, and I love to be with Jill when she watches her mystery movies on TV. And, it's just one of those things where I get to enjoy life at this point. And
Good.
It's fun.
Doc, what advice would you give? Again, earlier we talked about, I love how you said at a young age you learned that work is honorable, and it teaches you stuff. It's not just a paycheck. And, and it guided you through your high school, college, postgraduate years, and even, your practice, and now as an elected official. But when a young person looks at you and probably says, oh, how do you get to become a mayor or an elected official in the council? Or, what advice would you give a young person who one day wants to be a community leader like you?
Service. Just flat out service. So I remember when I was growing up in high school, my dad was a bishop, for instance. And so he conducted funerals. And he would get me out of high school, and I would go with him and be a pallbearer. I mean, a simple thing. And, cleaning a church, working on a farm, a church farm. So the churches are a great place to learn how to serve, to be able, it gives you a place where you can serve. And then your schools have all these organizational opportunities, and your communities have all these things. So I think if there's one thing that would train a person for politics and to learn to love people, it would be service. And if you don't love people, don't go into politics. Mm-hmm. Because, you're going to offend people. And they're going to have to figure out when they can forgive you of those elbows at basketball game in Peru. But it's service.
Yeah. Well said, Doc. That's good. As we're nearing the end, I could talk to you for hours, but I know Jill's waiting for you patiently, so we got to let you get on your trip. But is there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us? Any big events happening in Boulder City you'd like to let our listeners know about? Or is there a website that one can go and learn more about what's happening?
Yeah,
in Boulder City?
bcnv.org.
Okay. We'll put it down here on the screen.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can just open up. You can just put in Boulder City, and that will come up. And we're not in Colorado.
That's right.
So if you put Boulder, you're going to get Colorado.
That's
so you
right.
put Boulder City, Nevada, and you'll get everything you want. But we're always doing something. Literally, we're always doing something. The train, we've got a train and a train museum that's going to be even bigger and better. But the train is doing a Halloween thing, 2 weekends. It's going to do its usual Thanksgiving thing. It's going to do its usual Christmas thing. So the train is really unique in and of itself. And then all of the Parks and Rec department are always having something like a triathlon, a mud run. All of these things are on the website that talk about. I mean, there is seldom a day on a weekend particularly that we don't have something going on.
Yep.
And periodically they invite the mayor so the mayor can say thanks for coming.
Yeah.
But there's always something to do. The intramural and the sports teams, if you want to play on something, we got a place for you. Yep. So all of the families, and it's a big family event coming with all of the sports, soccers and tennis, and now pickleball. I think we have now 12 pickleball courts. And maybe 14 by the time this is over. We have a lot of park activities. We have a wonderful library. And when you start looking at all of the activities in the park, the art in the park, it's preceded by the Worst Fest. The Worst Fest is that all that money that they get is designed to provide for the grad night for the Boulder City seniors as they graduate, and it's a secret. They put them on a bus and they take them somewhere, and they're there all night. Wow. They're off the road. They're not driving their car. They're not getting drunk, and they're safe. Yep. And the Rotarians, the Sunrise Rotarians, do that. So the Sunrise Rotarians are always doing something. There's just a lot of service going on and help, and
so much to do.
Welcome to Boulder City. Yes. There's always something going on.
And for those loving nature, I know you didn't say it, but you'll. If at the very least you can go watch the sheep cross
dude,
come down, go back up.
You don't have to go there anymore. You can watch it on Ram Cam.
Wow.
So we get the call. Are the sheep out? Well, we don't know. Well, what we found is we've got a Ram Cam now.
Wow.
RAMCA.
Yes.
And you go to Boulder City and you can pull up the Ram Cam to see if the sheep are out. And the sheep, come down to Hemingway Park, and they bring their little lambs with them cute. When it's the right time. Yep. And so we have made it easy. But there are people on bus trips that literally stop there to watch the rams.
That's right.
And then they go on. And not to mention Lake Mead, not to mention Hoover Dam, not to mention all of the things that you can see and do around Boulder City.
It's a wonderful city. Doc, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule as mayor. And again, I could talk to you a lot more. We'll have to invite you back. Hopefully you will come back.
Yeah, I probably won't change my tune.
We like it. Well, tell Jill, thank you also for letting us borrow you, and safe travels today.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right.
Thank you.
That's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at the next one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, Mayor Hardy, thank you for staying over to do the bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to give you some categories. You're going to give me your favorite one in those. Let's start with an easy one. What's your favorite food?
Donuts.
Your favorite restaurant?
That's a problem because if I say that, I'll offend all the others.
That's right. Any restaurant in Boulder City, probably.
So I like Toto's.
Okay, very good. What about your favorite musical group or artist?
The Beatles.
Oh, good one. Your favorite movie?
Princess Bride.
Your favorite book?
The Book of Mormon.
Your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Your favorite sports team?
Oh, man. Right now, it would be the Kansas City football team.
All right. And how about we've become now in Southern Nevada, not just the entertainment capital, but the sports capital of the world. We have several teams. Of the local teams, which one is your favorite?
UNLV basketball.
Awesome. You made it through the first segment. The second one is called Tough Choices. It gets a little more difficult. I'm going to give you two choices and you have to pick one. Are you ready? Vacation or staycation?
Staycation.
If you're on vacation, do you rather drive to the spot or fly there?
Drive.
Once you get to your spot, would you rather stay in a hotel or an Airbnb?
My cabin.
Would you like to spend the day by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Yes.
Would you rather retire? I don't see you retiring, Doc, but once you retire, would you rather retire on a ranch or in the city?
Ranch.
Here it comes. It becomes more difficult. Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Grace.
Very good, Doc. You made it through the second segment. The last one is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 95% of the sentence. You're going to finish it for me. You ready? If Doc could visit any place in the world, it would be
Hawaii.
The best part of living in Boulder City is
It's my home.
Doc's favorite thing about his job as mayor of Boulder City is
My people.
If Doc could travel back in time, he would travel to
It would be 1776.
Ooh, the revolution. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, 3 words that describe Doc are
Kind. Considerate. Appreciative.
Couldn't agree more. And Doc, doing the WC podcast here today with us was
Great.
okay.